They say necessity is the mother of invention, but does that also include teaching yourself how to sew? Scott Hunter is CEO and founder of Vedavoo, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what does Vedavoo mean?
So Vedavoo, I think, was the most fun word to say, have the options available for my then 2-year-old son, but it's derived from a state park in my home state of Wyoming, a place where hiking, climbing, backpacking, fly fishing is part of life, so to speak, and a good fit for our brand.
We are not in Wyoming currently. How did you get from there to here?
I did. So I moved from Wyoming to this area to attend Babson College and proceed with my MBA through that program because of the entrepreneurship focus and the unbelievable leadership in that field that Babson provided. It was a kind of a no-brainer case as far as moving. As much as I hated to leave the West, I'm very thankful that I was able to come to Babson.
What was your inspiration to start the company?
I had been a big outdoorsman and appreciated the outdoors, hiking and climbing and otherwise, originally starting through the Boy Scouts and obviously as a factor of where I lived. And as I got into it, I started developing a real appreciation for the gear, all the little trinkets. I think people call you a gear nerd, so to speak. But as I got further into that, some of the backpacks and bags that I had used that had been handed down from my father and grandfather, the American-made quality, you couldn't replicate anymore. A lot of the things that I was available to buy were made in China or made overseas in other places, and unfortunately the quality just wasn't there. So when I set out to start this business, the goal was to bring back manufacturing to the United States and find a way to make that work, to return that same level of quality back to an area that needed it, in my eyes.
And was this immediately post-MBA or a few years after the fact?
So this was immediately post. I actually came to Babson with this business model in mind and continued to develop it through their entrepreneurship intensity track there and then launched out of graduation.
And why did you have to teach yourself how to sew?
I know the nature of pivoting is being able to recognize faults and challenges that you faced and find new ways to be able to find success. And for me, I started with the traditional route, partially designed, predicated based on my investors and what they were telling me to do, and advisors and what they were telling me to do, and the little voices in the back of my head, trying to go with traditional manufacturing, wherever that may have been. And through that process, I had a lot of very expensive lessons. And in short, ended up finding myself down to $700 in the bank. The company was basically bankrupt and on the verge of folding up shop.
And what did you start with in terms of your bank balance?
Bank balance was significantly higher than that. I'll leave it at that. I mean, we were in the 5-figure range, but nothing crazy. But nonetheless, the effort of trying to coordinate manufacturing and sourcing and back and forth with teams from designers and all these third parties vacuumed up what cash I did have.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I was at this point where I didn't have the resources to continue, but I also had nothing to show for the effort put in so far. So I ended up having a wonderful conversation with Yvonne Chenard, the man who founded Patagonia, and another one with the gentleman who founded Gregory Packs, Wayne Gregory, and they both basically said the same thing, which is, look, if you can't build something with your own hands, you don't know what goes into making it. So when you ask somebody to put a zipper in here, is that really tangible? Can you do that, or are you asking them to do something that's not realistic? And so, in short, they said, go out and buy a sewing machine and teach yourself to sew, and so I did.
I love it. And the pivot was not teaching yourself how to sew, but bringing manufacturing back home?
Bringing manufacturing back home is definitely the big part of the pivot. So I going with the outside sources and otherwise became impossible. And being able to bring it back in-house, learn those methods, allowed me to establish this baseline where we could build to order. A business model that we still employ today, 7 years later, where we, in effect, take an order in, we hand cut, hand build, and hand ship each individual piece to meet the needs of the individual customer.
What is the best thing about bringing your manufacturing home?
Having the families that support the production of my goods, being able to see the impact on those individual families has had an unbelievable impact on me too. I know that every unit that's produced, I'm paying someone that has kids or a husband or a family that they need to support, and I'm investing in local communities again. And that means more to me than being able to outsource and get a cheaper rate per se, being able to do it the right way instead of necessarily the easiest way.
But do your customers really care?
My customers definitely do, and we have a lot of folks that come specifically to us because of that American-made aspect. I mean, the thread, the buckles, the zippers, the webbing, the fabric itself, that's all American-made, but when it's handcrafted by individuals that are real people in your community, it makes a big difference.
Are you worried about scalability?
Every day. But the reality is as we've grown, the concerns that I've had the day before always seem to be met by the needs of what I am able to produce as we move forward. As I went through the process, the thing that I think I learned most and that was most valuable to me was the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the business that I was getting into before I dove in. And had I had that mindset early, I don't think I would have gone through that early, beating my head against the wall process that I ultimately did, but rather get right to the point and be able to start working from that American-made focus early as I initially intended up front.
Scott, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Scott Hunter, CEO and founder of Vedavoo.